Welcome back to another episode of Realty Resilience. My name is Dave Nations, the host of your podcast and founder of Nations Network, powered by Keller Williams Realty. I've got an awesome guest today that I'm excited to introduce, Rachel Wenzel. Rachel and I have worked together for 10 years now, going on 10 years, right? And Rachel is our marketing expert. And today we're going to cover all things marketing. But first, before we do that, if you want to jump in and give us a little background on before real estate, what you were doing, and then as we've been working together for the last 8 years, what that looks like. I always, as a Cardinal fan, jokingly called you the Jose Oquendo of our team, because she has done a bunch of different roles and understands a lot of what our team has done and built over the years because she's been with us for so long. So she's an expert in everything, but her biggest expertise is really in the marketing space. So what's happening?
Hey. Okay. So before real estate, I worked my degree is in history, but I never did anything with that. When I graduated from college in 2009, obviously the job market was what it was in 2009. So I was working at First Bank at the time as a teller and just made that my full-time job. And then when the banking industry was not doing well too, my hours got cut there and I worked at Commerce Bank. And so that was what I was doing right before joining the team. So I was opening new accounts, doing loans, which honestly I think was kind of helpful getting into the real estate space because I had experience with like home equity loans and lines of credits and things about
Starting to learn some of the real estate jargon, right?
Yeah. And we bought our first house in 2010, so I had experience with that a little bit. So I felt good. I reached out to Kat when she posted on Facebook that you guys were looking for somebody to join the team. So.
And the rest is history.
Yeah, the rest is history. Yeah.
Just like your degree.
Right, yeah. The rest is...
So when you started with us, what was your role at that time?
I was, I believe, hired as the ISA on the team.
So like I said, I know you had a few different ones, so
yes.
I'm like trying to remember the exact what you started as. So it was ISA, inside sales agent.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I took all the phone calls and set appointments, but then also took the photos for the listings, and I think I was doing listing input pretty quickly after that. So
photos, listing input, and ISA kind of all around at the same time, right?
Yeah.
And Kat was doing all the transaction coordination.
Yes.
Correct. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And I was putting out postcards and doing the marketing stuff. Really, the marketing and the listing things have been the most consistent across my time, but. Yeah, it quickly evolved as we added people on, and really it was just the photography, the listings that stayed the same the whole time, and then marketing kind of on and off.
Yeah, and so the marketing really got into, at one point with the listings, I should say, you ended up doing all the photography, got a much nicer camera, all the editing, all the things, and really I feel like owned that space for a while with the photography and the editing, and really did a phenomenal job at it, and then creating all the marketing pieces that we have for the team with the buyer packets, listing packets, right?
Yep.
All of those kind of things, and they've all turned out phenomenal. But then as we continued to grow, I think it was really we needed you for more marketing, and so we ended up bringing in a photographer. Was that been a year now? Right?
I think it's been 2 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then remove that off your plate, and then just been solely focused on the marketing. So for our team, you're our marketing expert, right? So what does that look like day to day for you right now? I understand, if you're out there as an agent, solo agent, you don't necessarily have, a full-time marketing person on your team. Maybe that's something you're looking to do. I think it's a great second hire after you make that first hire. And you've been able to start creating systems and all that, then the next piece is really layering in that marketing, right? So for our team, what's your role look like today?
Today, most of my day-to-day is working with the agents, often meeting with them. The ones who are doing a lot, I'm meeting with them once a week. The ones who have a little less production, I'm maybe working with every other week or once a month, and then putting into practice whatever it is that they're working on for their business. And then for Nations Network as a whole as well. So if our team needs something updated, then I'm working on the visual stuff and the digital things to market our team and put our brand out there. And then for the agents, helping them with their farms, with their strategy, with their social media, all of that, and kind of strategizing with them on their marketing. So working on for our team as a whole, a lot of it is our touch program to keep in touch with our clients and our
I think
database.
That's a great point I want to make sure you hit on if you want to kind of dive into what that looks like. I think, again, as agents are building their business, and again, if you're solo, you've got 2 or 3 people on your team, regardless of your size, I think this is a huge component to what has made our team successful and allowed us to have consistent business year in and year out, is really working this and running this play. Yeah. And I feel like as I talk to a lot of agents who are out there, there's so many that fly by the seat of their pants and generate business however they find the business, and they're just so busy finding the business and then just getting it to the closing table. There's really no system or anything behind it. And again, if you're on your own, it's hard to do that and go do the deals and do it all. I totally understand that. But the moment you can add in some leverage and you can put this system in place, I think this system is a phenomenal one that will allow people to get more business without having to work harder. Right, it's working smarter, not harder, like we've always heard. Right. So share with everyone, like, what does this touch program typically look like?
And this is, straight from Gary Keller, right? It's the models that he has in place. I mean, we've been using the same model for years.
I think we've increased the touches, I feel like. And then if you count social media, the touches go through the roof. Right. But, the basic touches, I think, because wasn't it like a 24 touch or 20?
33 touch.
33. And then it went to 36 or something. But yeah.
Changed over the years. But really, email once a month, like an email newsletter. So there's 12 touches there. Events are a big part of all the touches, because you can have your invitation, you're calling the clients to talk to them about it, and then the actual event itself, and then follow up after the event. And we send invitations out through different, whether it's a physical invitation or an email.
Mediums,
right, mediums, that's the word. We send those out in different ways, and those are opportunities to create the conversations around it. So we have 4 events a year, and there's conversations around all of those. So there's, I would say, at least 3 touches around every event that we're doing. And we send out quarterly postcards, usually just stats kind of things to go through the mail, to get people, just really to keep us top of mind. And the agents are calling the clients at least quarterly, going through the database on that.
Is it a year-end mailer?
Year-end mailer. So we send a year-end mailer with calendar in it, and just kind of a wrap-up of the year. And a Cardinals mailer we send. Just literally approved that proof today. Got it. So, yeah.
Yeah, and so I think it's important that you have all these systems in place and to make sure that we don't overthink some things. And you had said like the quarterly mailer, it's stats. Okay, like just put something together, put it out there. I think overall the content is important, but what's most important is the consistency behind the system, right? And making sure that you're doing something consistently and getting in front of people consistently. Because that's really what's going to remind people. I think the stat we've heard for a long time is people forget what you do every 12 days. So you have to be staying in front of them to continue to remind them, whether it's just that simple postcard in the mail, it's that year-end magnet calendar that you send them that's on their fridge all year round. It's the pie event, reminder, or whatever it is, right? But it's constantly being in front of them. So then when they do see you, first thing they're going to ask you is, oh, how's the real estate market, right? And so I think that's awesome, and I think it's a great tool for anyone if you don't have anything like this in place to get started. I mean, if I can't do all of these things, what's one thing you're like, at least do this?
Make the phone calls.
Make the phone calls. I love it.
I mean, that's really, you can have those conversations. You're going to connect with them. I think that's not as consistent, not as frequent, but I would think that's the most impactful thing.
That direct touch right to them, right? And making sure, and if I do that 4 times a year and I call everybody in my database, regardless of whether they never get a postcard, by the way, the phone call's easy, quick, and free, right? For the most part. Yeah. So it's just a matter of doing it. Okay, great advice. So that's our 36 touch program, and I know plenty of others have very similar models to that, and that's a big piece of ours, but I know that you're more passionate really around different types of marketing, mainly in the video, social media space. So let's jump into that and talk about what that looks like and how you're helping the agents do that and what you're seeing out there that's working and what agents should be really considering when doing social media and videos.
Yeah, it's interesting when I'm meeting with the agents. Video definitely seems to be the biggest kind of hurdle to get over when it comes to social media. It's so easy to make a post or write something out, and being on video is a lot more vulnerable. You're really showing.
I just had this thought, and I think it's funny because historically, right, agents love putting their faces on their signs or on a billboard or on all those things. So it's funny to me that video would be hard for agents to do. They want to put their brand out there all over the place, and they're proud of it. But then when it comes time to actually do a video, it's like, I don't know what to say,
Yes.
So it's kind of funny.
Yeah, we're the only industry that has, maybe besides actors, where our pictures are on our business cards, right? Like your face is everywhere. And that really is true, though, especially I think within our team, is your face is the brand, right? Like you are the brand, and we're kind of the overarching, like we're
behind the brand.
Right. Like we're Target and you're Tide or any other brand within that's being sold there,
Yeah.
And so that's the easiest way to get your brand out there is to be on video. I think that what a lot of agents struggle with is really coming up with who their target audience is. A lot of times when they want to start with that first question, right? Like you said, what do I say? And I think that the more important question is who am I trying to talk to? Who is this going to resonate with?
Why do people care about this
Right.
house or this market or these market stats or whatever it is, right?
Or anything. Why do people care about following me, right? I think so much of what we hear over and over again is authenticity and putting yourself out there authentically, showing your life, your personality, who they meet with when they actually have an appointment with you should be who they have seen consistently on all your social media. You shouldn't be a different person in person than you are in video.
So how are you helping them figure out who their who is, right? Who? And that's the first step, right? And I got to figure out what I'm going to put out there, or who I guess I should say I'm putting it out there for. What does that look like? What's that conversation?
I think it's really asking them kind of it's a little harder when someone's new in the industry because they don't know what they don't know. Sure. Once someone gets a little bit of traction under their belt and they see kind of, it's really about what they're good at. If they are, a lot of times our newer agents tend to be working with first-time home buyers because it's a similar vibe, right? Like you're new to the industry and we're going to figure this out together, and there's an enthusiasm there, and so trying to see kind of how matching that those levels of enthusiasm.
Yeah, or like with Lisa, right? And she's big in Brentwood. So then, she's probably going to want to be, really speaking to people who live in Brentwood and talk about Brentwood and share, what's going on there. And that's who she wants to maybe target or speak to, right? Or somebody who's into real estate investing, working with real estate investors, then they want to be speaking to people who are interested in investing and talk about different deals and how they put it together, or how they help this client put it together, or how they sold this and that, and cash flows and all the different things, right? So what you're saying is, it's in the beginning, if you're brand new, it's hard to kind of really understand that. It's just, first you just need to understand how to sell, but as you're evolving, it's really looking at what are you doing and what's working really well, right? And then what are stories then we can start promoting and sharing around what's working well, to then go talk to those people like that then relate, and then they come, and now you just start finding more first-time home buyers, right? Because that's what I'm talking about, and how I got this first-time home buyer and an FHA loan under contract and beat out 10 other people, and this is what we did. And now somebody else comes along and says, well, shoot, I'm a first-time home buyer, and then they call you, right? And that's what you're saying, right? Yeah. So it's thinking through what that is, and I like that. It's really what do you do well, what works for you, and then really building off of that, and it helps you be authentic, right? Because that's what already works. So.
Yeah, I think one of the things that resonated with me when we were doing a training class with Dana Gentry, she talked about asking what is something that you do well that other people find hard. And I think that's something that when I talk to the agents about that, I think that's helped them, even if that's not something that if the answer to that isn't something that you're word for word articulating to your audience, I think the underlying, whatever that answer is, kind of having that be in the background as you're thinking about who your target audience is, what kind of things you're sharing, you want to play to that strength that other people are going to be drawn to that because they want to learn how to do it better. And it's not something that comes easily to them. And so when they see you doing it, it's already something that you're doing well, then you're going to attract those people who want to do that thing better. So a lot of times I think we talk about, like, you're talking to the you of 5 years ago, when you're doing these kinds of videos. But I think that asking that question, once you've gotten a little bit of traction in real estate.
So I found, okay, so then now I figured out who, right? And okay, so now I know who I'm going to speak to. What do I do next? What's my cadence? How often? Does it matter what the video looks like? Like, okay, so I know I want to, let's just go with the first-time home buyers, right? And I want to continue to promote that and talk to them. What do I need to do next?
Well, I think that a lot of times people will think about what to say, like give me content. Like, I have a hard time doing videos because I don't know what to say. But a lot of times you're already doing those things. You're already saying the things that should be on a video kind of in your day-to-day life. And it's finding those triggers. Like, before I get into content generation, I would want to have a conversation about finding the content authentically in your life. So first.
So then essentially I'm going back to maybe, let's say, just some deals that I've closed and looking at what were those experiences that then I'm talking about and sharing that, because that's what you're looking for, right?
Yeah. And thinking about your target audience. If you are looking at more first-time home buyers, then maybe your content does need to be a little more educational. But when you're trying to show that authenticity, sometimes it's finding those moments in your day where maybe you've been like pulling CMAs or pulling market data, and there's something from that you're like, that's a nugget that I was surprised by, that normally maybe you would turn to the person next to you and say, tell them about it. And instead, like, turn the camera on, turn your phone around, turn the camera on, and share that just like you were saying it to the person next to you. So I think trying to find those, I've been working with the agents and really trying to find the triggers within their day that would create those more authentic videos where they're sharing the information that resonates with them. So, for example, like Jim, I just have reminders on my phone at different times during the week to just text him and say, take a video right now. Because that's what he needs. Like, he needs a reminder.
Videos of him eating candy from the candy jar?
Sure. Because it's authentic, right? Like, that's, people want to see. Yeah. And people want to see who he is, right? They're gravitated toward who he is as a person, and they're going to resonate with the information that he's giving them when they are connecting with him on a personal level. So whether it's something that is work related that he's going to take a video of, or whether he's, with his kids or walking into the gym or something like that, that's kind of why I put those reminders out there. So I think kind of thinking of it,
and it's not thought out at that point, which on one hand I say that thinking like, oh, that could go bad, but it's authentic. It's what's happening in the moment. This is it. And I'm not like overthinking something. Yes. And then I'm trying to do this video on market stats and I just botch it and it doesn't really go well because I'm overthinking it. Whereas I'm just walking into the gym and I'm like, oh, time to hit the weights or whatever. Right.
And I think that is, you hit the nail on the head of what most people struggle with video is overthinking it. I think most people, when they're thinking about, or most agents, when they're thinking about doing a video, they want to do something where they're speaking to market stats, or the way they want to do those more educational videos because they can share that confidently, right?
And I think that's easy.
Yeah.
I think it's easy to go and find stats and be like, oh, did you know that inventory is down 25% since November? Like, okay.
Right.
Great.
Yeah.
But I think the story about how I helped somebody beat out 22 offers and get them their house of their dreams is more interesting to me than that.
Yes. And then people, like, we've been reading that Stories That Stick book, and that's been, I think, for every agent that I talk to that's read that, it's come up in our marketing meetings multiple times because people resonate with it. In creating those stories around, creating videos around stories and finding the stories in their transactions and in kind of their day-to-day life. And it's much easier to tell a story. I honestly think we have an amazing opportunity to tell stories because the criteria in that book of having like an identifiable character and kind of a authentic emotion and specific details, like
a first-time home buyer buying a house is your character,
right?
And it's their first house, so they're probably pretty excited and nervous.
You can give those emotions, you can talk about it, and then whoever's watching that is going to resonate with you. You want them to say, "Yeah, that's me," right? And that's where most of the time we want to share so much numbers related stuff or get into those educational things, and most people who are following you are not buying a house anytime soon. They're not going to buy or sell anytime soon, or if they are, they're...
But I think even if they are, what we're learning through video and social media is that what they want are people that they relate to. Yes. And you're building trust with them through those videos because they're watching what you're going through and listening to what you're going through and hearing those stories. And through those stories, you're sharing your expertise, right? It's not about the numbers. It's not that the market sold X amount or this amount or went down, up, whatever. Definitely helps, right? But if I'm looking out for looking for future clients, they're looking for people that they relate to, right? And you often hear when people get business through social media and videos, it's like, oh, I've been watching you for a years, whatever it is, been following you. And then it's because of that brings them on board. And if they've been following me for years, you've obviously been doing something right, and you have to have had some pretty good content and something interestingly enough to keep people engaged for that long. And you can only talk about numbers for so long before you're going to lose most people. Maybe not your CPAs or economists or something, but for the most part, I think
your average person.
I want to watch videos of people wiping out, and falling.
Exactly.
That's going to get my attention. So when you're walking up to a house and you trip and fall on the stairs on the way to the lockbox, video
Make
that
sure that
and
you're
post that. Yeah. Like, that's good content, you know?
Just have someone following you around all the time with a video.
Just have the camera on, right? You know? But no, I don't know where I was going with that, but I got distracted by the falling video in my head. So,
those are the best.
yes, they are. Anyway, so yeah, I think it's just going back to being authentic and just trying to get over the overthinking.
Yeah.
Really is what it is at the end of the day. And the more you just do it and put it out there, the better. So consistency wise, on that note, what does that need to look like? I've often heard people say that I have a social media schedule. So Mondays I do this, Tuesdays I do this, Wednesdays I do this. How necessary is it to be that rigid with your schedule? Does it need to just be put something out every single day? Like, what's your...
I think it very much depends on the person. I think if you are the type of person who needs a schedule, then that's going to give you the confidence. If you've got a schedule of your social media and you're putting something out there every day, or at least putting, I would say at least something every week. You know, if this is the first time you're doing video, then at least once a week, try and make that a consistent thing. And you can make a calendar for it. You can, definitely time block it out on your own calendar, but you can be purposeful about it. I think that sometimes, again, that can lead into overthinking if you're the type of person that putting it on your calendar that prescriptive is a problem.
Because then I need to know a topic. Like if it's Mondays and I do reviews, testimonial Tuesday.
Right.
What happens if you run out of testimonials or something? I don't know. What do you do then? Whereas you're saying just go out and put something out there and just do it and don't overthink it.
See what sticks. But also if I think a lot of times the why behind why people aren't doing video isn't necessarily not knowing what to say. It's if they're afraid of being vulnerable, afraid of putting their putting their personal, putting your personal information out there or something like that. But I think whatever is going to give you confidence, like if having a schedule like that and planning it out is going to give you the confidence to do videos, then I would say to do it. And if really what you're struggling with is creating more authenticity, that's where I would say to instead use kind of more try and build triggers into your...
Says, boom, time to do a video.
Right.
What I want to talk about. Just go.
Yeah, and I know what I've talked about recently with one of our agents was she looked at her calendar and said, I said, look at your calendar and see what you're doing that you think you would get a nugget out of it that you would want to share with somebody. So if you've done... if you've got training on your calendar and you're going to take a training class and you're probably going to get a good nugget out of it, then schedule a video right after that training and say, then you're getting that quick, authentic emotion and you're saying, I just got out of a training class and I heard this, such and such, and it really resonated with me. I think that's where you can kind of build those triggers into your schedule rather than having something so prescriptive. Sure. If that's what you need. Yeah. If you're struggling with authenticity, I think
you could do that for any of those points, right? Like, I just met with a new buyer, or I just went on a listing appointment, or we just finished an inspection, or just had a closing. So you could come up with points throughout the deal just to help kind of talk about it. You could even do that if you, like I coach my kids' hockey team. Maybe I want to talk about something outside of real estate. Yes. And then it's, we just wrapped up our season, or just finished a game or whatever it is, and just reminders from that too. Mm-hmm. So, in that book, you talked about stories to stick. And one of the things you talked about in there was that everything we do is a story. Right, we don't look at it like that because I think, again, overthinking is the biggest challenge here to overcome. And at the end of the day, everything that's happening is a story, right? And when you really realize that everything you're doing all day is a story, and it's just finding in there what is interesting, also what is interesting that resonates with who you want it to hear it, right? It's not that hard at that point, And I think the more you just put it out there, the easier it becomes, right?
Yeah. And I think what you're saying really hits on something that I see agents struggle with is that relevance kind of hurdle. A lot of times that is the why behind why they're not doing video. It's because they don't they don't feel like what they're going to put out there is relevant, or they feel like everything that they have to put out there has to be relevant, and whatever that means to them,
Sure.
And I think, my argument to that is, it's not up to you what's relevant. It's going to be your audience who's going to tell you what's relevant.
And if you know who you're speaking to, and you've already then had these experiences with people that are like them, well, you know it's relevant, right? You just went through it with these people, with these clients, whatever it is. So then talk about that, right?
Yeah. And I think the other hurdle that I see a lot with the relevance, if they're struggling with that and feeling like, I need to put out quality content every time, and I need to be speaking intelligently about every little thing that I'm sharing, that's when you kind of lose that authenticity. But I think if we can get over that hurdle, a lot of times what the struggle is, what did you say before? Sorry. Something you said triggered something in my brain, and now I don't remember.
Well, this is on video, so we could watch it.
All right. I can go back and see.
The other thing I was going to ask while we're talking about doing these and overthinking it is, as far as the content and, thinking about like what people went through and what's relevant, what about doing just random videos? They have nothing to do with real estate, and I'm just, me at a party, me eating breakfast, is it still important for me to do all of that too? Or is what you're speaking about more around like the professional side and just highlighting what you're doing in the real estate space most of the time? But how important is it to highlight the friends, family, any of that other outside stuff?
I'd say it's equally as important, if not more important, to highlight the stuff outside of it. Because again, people are going to watch you because they relate to you. And if a lot of what you're doing is all real estate, a lot of what I've heard from the training that I've done, they say you kind of have to earn the right to be doing 50% real estate, 50% family.
So
otherwise, it should be 80-20 if it's
80 family, friends, kind of stuff, 20% real estate. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So what you were talking about, though, of like what you're eating for breakfast and your family and friends, like that, to me, that's Instagram stories, because those are gone or Snapchat.
Okay.
Those are gone in 24 hours. Those are gone right away.
Gotcha.
So
I did actually post a video once of me eating Kelsey mix breakfast, and I had so many comments on it. It's hilarious. So people apparently do care what you eat for breakfast sometimes.
Yes. Yeah.
But I do appreciate it that it was a short window of time. Don't need to put it out there.
You don't.
Right?
Yeah. That's the perfect thing. I think it helps to think of those kind of categories when people are thinking about when they're struggling with generating content. I think there's a couple different ways you can think about it. Whether it's lining them out in like types of videos that you want to do. Like I want to do a long form one, or I want to do one with a text overlay where I've kind of just got the camera on a tripod and I'm doing something in the background and I'm going to put text over it. Or
there's a lot of options, but before we go too deep into that, I don't want to. You don't want to keep people from, or again, I think the whole concern is overthinking it, right?
Yeah.
So, the fastest way if people aren't doing it is just take the phone and just go, right? And just record something. But as far as like those added layers, is how important, I guess, real quick, is it around adding in music or having the captions or, having the backdrop or, in your mind, does it matter? Those are just nice added features, but really it's all about just shooting the video.
Yeah, I think it's really just shooting the video, and you kind of almost can, same way with the ratio of content, like you can kind of earn the right to do some of the more polished stuff when you've really gotten some traction, gotten more followers, and you know that people are following you for you, then you can throw in more of those educational things where you do have the lights in the background and all that stuff.
Earn the right, build the trust.
Right.
Wonderful. So to wrap up, before we do, any last things you want to add, share that you want to make sure you get out there that our audience knows? Like, hey, if you're looking to get into video, getting into marketing, social media, any of the stuff we talked about today, what do they need to know? like last parting words, right?
I think it's easy to kind of find those like 5 tips for creating videos or whatever. And I would say for people to spend the time thinking about like handling your emotions around doing videos.
Okay.
Like take some deep breaths, allow yourself to feel nervous and do it anyway. Like allow that feeling of nervousness to.
Now I do that first video. Do I then put that out there, or do I delete that one and do it again, and then delete that one and do it again? So maybe it's like the 6th video.
Sure.
What's your take on that?
I would say whatever's most authentic.
First video, right?
Yeah,
And,
usually it's the first video, but sometimes you can be a bit incoherent. Sometimes it is about gathering your thoughts, and you do those first.
Reminds
you get
me
it
of
out of
that
your system.
Scene from Billy Madison when he's doing a speech, and then the guy says, "We are all now dumber." Thank you for.
Yeah.
He's like, that made no sense, but yeah. So I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, put your thoughts together and you can get some of that out, and then it really depends on what the content is. I think if you are trying to do a more educational video, then usually the first take does kind of let you get the junk out, and then you can focus really on what your main points are. But when it's something that's intended to be more authentic, then just put the first thing out there.
I think the biggest thing I heard you say today really is don't overthink it, right?
Yeah.
Just do it, right?
Yeah.
Like Nike says.
Yeah. And once you do, then you'll see what resonates with your audience, and then you'll get more direction.
That's a great point. You can see that based on views, right? Or likes or comments or any of that kind of stuff. You put something out there and 2 people comment and 1 person watched it, or 2 people, I guess, in that case, versus 500 and something, then, maybe you're onto something, right? So that's a great point, and a good advice there just to track it. So, Rachel, really appreciate all your advice and insights on the marketing. Right. There was a lot of good nuggets. I really like the 80-20, and really I think as agents, right, we want to just talk about real estate all day, but it's so important that we really share what else is happening and humanize yourself. And that really helps people relate to you, trust you, which is ultimately what you're trying to do through social media, right? It's like going to a networking event, but instead of being there physically, people are just watching you in the social media space, and it's just over time, then they're like, oh, I like this guy.
And honestly, it's kind of like you're doing, it's like a pre-list presentation that's working for you at all times, right? Like when you go into a meeting and the person, like when you said earlier that somebody was, they hired you because they've been following you for a year or whatever. Do you think that they're interviewing a bunch of other agents when they say that? Like most of the time, you're the shoe-in because they know who you are and they like you, and
That's awesome.
so
That's great advice right there, and that's why you do it, and that's why we need to continue to do it consistently. So thanks again, and that's a wrap on another great episode of Realty Resilience, and continue to like us, follow us, find us on YouTube, Spotify, all the fun places out there, but thanks again.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Realty Resilience. Be sure to join our free Realty Resilience Facebook group where real estate professionals connect, share strategies, and access resources. You can also follow us on Instagram, like us on Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more insights. And remember, we release new episodes every 2 weeks. See you next time.